Yeah, so I grew up actually in completely landlocked states. I lived in Illinois, that's where I was born until I was 10, and then I moved to Arizona and lived in the middle of the desert until I was 22 and then moved away for grad school. I made it out here to the Cape because I was actually a graduate student at the University of Washington in the School of Aquatic and Fisheries Sciences, and my advisor said, "Hey, I'm going to Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution. Would you like to come with?" And I said, "Absolutely." So I picked up all my stuff, moved across the country. I had never even been to the state of Massachusetts, and I was like, well, I guess I'm now a Cape Cod resident. And I've been here since 2021, so not that long, but I have been loving absolutely every minute of it. Winters are a little bit colder than I'm used to than the desert, but I'm absolutely loving Cape Cod, and the summertime is beautiful. It's so nice to see, the ocean and wildlife and see the tourists come and make memories with their families and everything. So yeah. So my research focuses on sharks. Specifically, my thesis is going to focus on basking sharks. In the Pacific Northwest, there are some species of sharks. 7 gills, 6 gills. Salmon sharks are a little less common. You go into California, you get a couple more species, but honestly, there aren't that many migratory predators that we really were able to research out there. There were just more opportunities out here on the East Coast. So being able to come out here and see the diversity of sharks and be able to kind of, have my choosing of whichever species I wanted to work with was really interesting. And also my advisor kind of, grew up out here, to a certain extent. My advisor went to Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution as well as a joint program student with Hui and MIT. So for him to be able to come back and get a job here, and also for me to have a mentor that's been through this entire process before with the joint program is super, super helpful. So his desire to kind of be out here kind of gave me the opportunity to come out here and explore all the different opportunities that there are on Cape Cod for not just research, but also, just enjoying life and experiencing the East Coast and seeing what all the hype is about. And, I love it. Yeah, I was always really obsessed with the water as a kid. I only got to visit the ocean specifically a couple times growing up when I was in probably high school. So my first experience with the ocean, I was probably 14 or 15 years old. Actually, hold on. I don't know if that's true. I think my earliest experience with the ocean was probably middle school. And then a couple times in high school, but really I didn't grow up near the ocean. I grew up with, man-made lakes and stuff, but I was always in love with the water. I loved swimming. I was obsessed with swimming lessons when I was a kid. I was a springboard diver in high school, so I've always been really attached to the water. And I think that the interest in studying animals that live in the water stems from the fact that I knew I was always going to work with animals. It was just a question of what animal it was going to be. I was always really interested in exploring wildlife and natural ecosystems and just the natural world as a kid. And the more I learned about the ocean, the more interested I became, until my questions became so complex that science didn't have answers for me anymore. So I figured, I guess I have to be the scientist to answer some of these questions that I have so that other people can learn from what I'm hoping to find, and we can educate the public about more exciting shark research. Yeah, I'm really interested to see, I guess, just kind of what sharks do in their daily life. And also on like a longer scale, what do they do when they're migrating? Why do they migrate? Where are they migrating? How are they fueling themselves to migrate? And I think sometimes anthropomorphizing animals is not always the best, but for me, sometimes it can help me think of research questions. So if you've ever looked at like a person on the street and just thought to yourself, what does this person do today? Do they have to go pick up their kids from daycare? Do they need to go to the grocery store? Are they going to go, whatever else? Are they going to go to the gym today? I kind of think the same things about sharks to help me come up with like research questions of like, what organisms are they interacting with on a day-to-day basis? What oceanographic features like fronts and eddies and all kinds of other things, what are they interacting with? Are they deep diving organisms? Are they not? Do they stay near the surface? If so, why? So just kind of asking all of these questions about what is going on in their daily life will kind of help you identify the gaps in the research so that we can further explore them and kind of see what's going on in the wacky world of sharks. Yeah, so I feel like a lot of people think that marine science is just like, you're out in the field all the time interacting with animals, and that's probably about 10% of the job. So in the summertime, I do a bunch of field work. Right now I'm collecting information on basking sharks, tagging them, basically just trying to figure out a little bit more about the mysteries of their migration. They travel really far, which we didn't previously know for a long time. We thought that they were strictly cold water sharks, but now we realize they're going into like the subtropics and the tropics down into the Caribbean, which is wild, at least here on the Northwest Atlantic side. And so trying to figure out exactly what is going on with this weird migration. So in the summertime, the spring and the summer, we kind of collect a bunch of the data. We go out, we tag, do whatever we need to do, collect our information. And then the rest of the year, it's basically just sitting at a computer and coding and analyzing all the data that you've previously collected, which I think obviously the field work side of things seems a little bit more glamorous. But I think that the analysis side of things is really interesting too, because once you find the interesting result, or maybe you find a result that you were completely expecting, but now it's more concrete of a claim, you for a period of time are the only person that knows that information on the planet, and that is such an exciting thing. And then 5 minutes later, you go tell your advisor, and now there's 2 people on the planet that know. But I just think it's so exciting to, you have all this information and you know that it's going to be able to likely be able to help you answer the questions that you have been so curious about for so long, and to kind of work through the steps of, you're getting closer and closer and inching closer to that answer is something that I find really exciting. Yeah, I definitely see a lot of women in science at Hui, especially in, well, I guess I can't really speak towards other departments because I don't really interact with a ton of the other departments all the time, but in the bio department, there's a ton of women in science, and especially in the group of students. There's so many women grad students, and it's wonderful to see because it makes it feel a little bit more like a safe space for women in science, because I've been in situations where it's not, I don't want to say unsafe. It's not, I wouldn't say that it's unsafe, but it just feels like you're walking a little bit more on eggshells, and you feel a little bit displaced, I guess. But I haven't really felt that way at Hui. And it's really nice to see all of these amazing women doing all of this incredible research, because, you've got me doing sharks and, marine predators. I have a friend who's working on marine mammals. I've got friends who are working on harmful algal blooms. I've got friends who are working on zooplankton. Like, it's just so amazing to see all of this super cool research being done by women that not only I would consider my friends, but also my mentors and people that I look up to as like really amazing scientists who do really good work. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of community events among like all of the students in general, of course. But because there are so many women students, obviously there's a lot of, community among the women as well. But there's a lot of events like big potlucks that are super fun, which is daunting for me because I don't cook very well, but that's okay. And there's like the karaoke at Liam McGuire's every Tuesday, and we always try and get a group of people to go, and just fun community things of social events. But also, if anyone ever needs help with research, we always feel so open to be able to go to the other students and say, hey, I'm having a little bit of some trouble with this. Maybe I'm stuck on this code, or I'm not exactly sure what statistical analysis to use. And we can very easily go to each other and feel comfortable doing so and be able to help each other out. And that's something that I found really valuable about being here. I mean, we'll tell each other about our research and like our field work coming up, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you're going to the Antarctic for 2 months? Like, that sounds wild. Send me pictures when you have Wi-Fi. Like, that sounds so fun. And just, hyping each other up of like, this is really exciting for you, or I'm so glad you found this cool result, or I don't know, if you have any questions, let me know, or I'm so sorry your, project didn't go the way you wanted to, or this fieldwork season was stressful, or whatever it is. We always, can come together and just talk about it and hype each other up and just be awesome scientists together. And it's just, it's so nice to be around so many like-minded people and be able to be excited about science with each other. Just a bunch of nerds in a room, and I love it. Yeah, so my mom is a math teacher, but both my parents, but yeah, my parents have been very, very supportive of me this entire time, going into a field that none of my other family have gone into. Nobody else in my family was like a biologist or anything, but me and both of my brothers majored in biology, and everyone was like, what is happening? Where did you come from? And I was the only one that decided to go to grad school. So my whole family is like, we don't know what you're talking about, but we're so excited for you. Like, congrats. And I've had so many amazing women mentors along the way as well. So I had Dr. Alice Gibb when I was at the Northern Arizona University, who helped me get a little bit of undergrad research in and helped me find some opportunities to do after college. I went to Friday Harbor Labs, and I was mentored by someone named Kayla Hall, Dr. Kayla Hall. She was wonderful. We worked on this project together, and it was also really cool to see another scientist that was as, I guess, like excitable and like hyper and just like energetic as I am. So we worked very well together, and that was super fun. There are so many others. Dr. Carly Cohen, she works on like fish teeth and stuff. And she was just like, in general, a great person to talk to about like, how do I apply for grad school? And, you know, what advice do you have for people with imposter syndrome? She's just an incredible person. I worked with Dr. Stacy Farina. She's at Howard University. I was her lab technician, and she helped me, you know, write my first grants for like the NSF, GRFP, and, you know, helping with collaborative processes of like, oh, well, you'll be helping this other student with their project. These are the things that we need you to do. Let me know if you need any help or if you have any questions. Just, you know, generally being a guide of how we approach things in science and how we go about things. And now I have all of the amazing students that I work with here, like Kayla Gardner, Kira Willis, so many others that I work with and interact with basically on a daily basis, that we all, you know, they're further along in their program than I am. So to be able to come in and have like these women mentors and also friends like further along in the process ahead of me, to be like, oh, well, this is how I went about this thing in the program, or this is how I wrote this paper, or whatever else it might be. Everyone has just been so helpful, and I definitely could not have reached where I am today without all of the women that have helped me and all of the women that have come before me in this field. I don't necessarily see myself staying in academia. I do want to continue doing research, and I want to do a lot of science communication after I finish my degree, because I think that, you know, a well-informed public is the best way to, you know, make sure that we have informed policy decisions and are doing things to protect the wildlife that we say we value so much. If we say we value it so much, we should be doing things to protect it. So I think that my role in science post grad school is probably not in an academia route, and that's okay. But I know that there are people that do want to stay in academia, and I hope that academia is kind to them, because academia needs people like these amazing women at Woods Hole to, you know, make academia a more accepting place, and to continue doing research and all this important work and mentoring the next generation of graduate students and everything. So I think that Woods Hole could be a place that people stay long term and have a wonderful career and do a lot of really important research. I just don't think it's necessarily where I will personally stay for a long time. And I think that that just comes back to that I don't really want to stay in academia, and that's okay. But I just love science communication so much. I just want to educate people and tell them all of the amazing and cool things. I want to share my excitement and passion for the ocean and for nature and for ocean organisms with literally as many people as I can, especially kids. I love working with kids. So to have the opportunity to do science communication work with, you know, younger groups of kids and potentially get a lot of other like young women interested in science to then go off and do the next generation of incredible research is something that I think is really exciting. So that's hopefully my career path after graduate school. We'll see how it goes. Well, so I've done some projects on YouTube with the BBC, and so I've been able to do a couple YouTube videos with them about like 7 superpowered sharks, or like let's look at these baby endangered animals and learn about them together. And I also have a nonprofit organization that I co-founded with 3 other Black women in shark science called Minorities in Shark Sciences, where we support women and gender minorities in the field of shark science. And we provide like hands-on opportunities for our members and you know, to get the experience they need to continue in the field, and also give them a community and a sense of belonging in a place where historically there hasn't been really space for us. So we kind of made the space for ourselves. And we have been able to do a lot of outreach with younger audiences with the nonprofit as well. And that's been something that I have found very rewarding and very fun. So we would like to continue with that. We're still a relatively new organization, but as we continue, I hope that we get to do like more and more outreach and stuff like that. Yeah, so if anyone's interested in, donating, if you're feeling generous, we do have our website. You can check out everything on our website, and there's also a donation link. It's misselasmo.org, misselasmo.org. We're also miss_Elasmo on Twitter and Instagram and TikTok. We have a Facebook page. I think we have a YouTube channel. So we're just kind of all over the place. And if you ever want to check out any of our stuff, feel free to do so. Check out our socials and our website. Yeah. And for anyone that, sorry, I was just going to add.
It's okay.
For anyone that does end up potentially donating or just checking us out, we appreciate your support very much. So I definitely was raised by feminists. I was never made to feel like, oh, you need to be wearing pink and like learn how to like cook and clean as your like most valuable skill sets. Like that was never anything that I was taught as a kid. I had a lot of female teachers that were like, you'd be a great scientist. Like you'd be really good at this. You're very intelligent in like all of these ways, and very much showed me my strengths, which made me feel more confident in myself and my abilities growing up. And I even when people have told me, because even though I grew up in a feminist household and around a lot of other women who support women and in places that are, well, sometimes more or less progressive, that doesn't necessarily mean that I've never experienced sexism and also racism as a woman of color. I've had people tell me that women aren't strong enough to handle sharks, so you shouldn't be in this field. They commented this on a picture of me helping to restrain a shark during a workup. So I simply ignore that comment. I'm like, your comment is irrelevant and also obviously untrue given the evidence of what you posted this comment on. I've had teachers tell me, well, all the girls are going to want to talk about dolphins and all the boys are going to want to talk about sharks. So I took that as an opportunity to bring up sharks at literally any opportunity that I had the chance. I've had people tell me that, well, Black people can't swim, so how are you going to work with marine animals? And I'm like, I literally was a springboard diver growing up. So Black people can do whatever they want. That's not an issue. Or you only got this scholarship because of affirmative action. Also inaccurate. It was a GPA-based scholarship. So all of these things that, honestly, they're just comments that are not only completely irrelevant to me and my work and who I am because they're not true, but because they're not true. They're blatantly not true. They're comments being made from people who don't want to see you succeed. And though sometimes it does, get to your head a little bit. I've had a relatively easy time, especially with the support group that I have, to just say, that's a ridiculous comment and I have no reason to pay any mind to it. I will let my work speak for itself because I'm doing the work that needs to be done. And when I do that, no one will have anything to say about it. And if you do have something to say about it, given the evidence, if there's something to critique, then that's great. And then I'll have room to improve. And that's totally fine. I can take critique. But a lot of times it's just comments that mean nothing, coming from people who don't want to see you succeed. And it's very rewarding to be able to show them that their comments mean nothing to you. Because I think that they get more mad when you simply don't care about how angry they are. And I also want to emphasize the fact that science needs absolutely everyone to succeed. This is what us at Minorities in Shark Sciences have always said. You need a diversity in people and people's backgrounds and different ways of thinking in order to have innovation in science. So if you have just one cookie cutter type of person, if you have, back in the day we had all white men in science and very few women of color, people of color, and I just don't think that that works. If you have one cookie cutter type of scientist and they all come from a very similar background and they think in very similar ways, you're not going to have as many new ideas as you would if you include people from different backgrounds and different genders, different races, different cultural experiences, different lives. So I just love to see the amount of diversity that we have in science now. That's not to say that we don't still have a long way to go, but we have made progress, and that has allowed me to be in science today and feel comfortable in science more so than my foremothers and forefathers. So I am thrilled with the way that things are going, and I hope that this girl power movement continues. And I'm just excited to see little kids from all kinds of diverse backgrounds get excited about science and see what they do in the future. Yeah, so we definitely want to, we already have like a big membership base, but since we're in so many different places around the country and around the world, it's hard to make sure that we're all connected, especially with time zones and everything. So we do have things like Slack channels where we can talk to each other, provide resources of here's a paid opportunity, here's an internship for anyone that's interested in these opportunities, but we are also looking to do more like regional meetings and things like that. So a group of people in like the US, a group of people meet up somewhere in Africa, a group of people meet up somewhere in Latin America, just so that they can, our members can kind of get to know each other more in person. I know that, I don't want to say post-pandemic because it's definitely still out there, but post-lockdown, it's still a lot of online community things, which can be very useful and has been very useful for us developing the organization. But we would love to do more in-person events for our members. And we definitely want to do some more outreach as well. We've gotten some summer camps, some spring break camps for middle schoolers and high schoolers and things like that to get some hands-on experience and just be like, look, this is marine science, isn't it super fun? But I'd love to be able to do more of those, and after grad school, hopefully I can go and participate in some of those as well, because, you know, being a student, you can't go to every event as much as I would love to. So yeah, definitely a couple different areas that we want to be able to grow, and also just having our members be able to give us input on what is working and what isn't working. Because like I said, we are a relatively new organization. We'll be celebrating our third anniversary in June of 2023. So still very new and still places to grow, and would love to get input from all of our members. So yeah, making moves, making waves, doing the best we can, and progressing in any ways that we see fit. Yes, so there is minorities in aquarium and zoo sciences, MIAS. There's Black in marine science, BIMS. There is Black in neuroscience. Like there's organizations for so many different parts of science. And it's funny because people say minorities in shark science, that sounds so niche. And I'm like, yes, however, we also have even more subsets within shark science that it just continues to branch. So to be able to have organizations that we've been able to collaborate with, like MIAS and BIMS, and a couple different organizations in a bunch of different areas. Black Girls Scuba Club is something that I find very valuable, to be able to, you know, connect not just the shark science world, but the aquarium and zoo science world. Maybe someone studying sharks will be able to use an aquarium or zoo to do some of their studies. Maybe someone in Black and marine science has some information that will help one of the MISS members, or the other way around. There's just so many ways to collaborate on different projects, different ideas, and just come together as a larger community. So we've definitely been able to see this like radiation of organizations across so many different types of science for minorities, both of race and gender and whatever else, and it's so incredible to see. It's very exciting. Yeah, just expanding on this whole idea of science needing everyone to be successful. Yes, we need people from many different backgrounds and cultures and ideologies and whatever to be successful, and I think that a point that I think is really important to emphasize is that Indigenous voices should be very heavily included in the science process. Indigenous knowledge goes back so far, and it is useful not only to us as scientists to learn more about the animals and the ecosystems that we're studying, but also for them so that we can help them preserve the lifestyles that they have used for generations, for so long. We should be able to work together to help our science and further the science and get excited about the science while preserving their cultural identity and their cultural traditions and the things that are incredibly significant to their identities. So I just wanted to emphasize that Indigenous voices should absolutely be included in science. and we should be doing a better job of recognizing whose land we're on and recognizing the organisms that we are interacting with and how what we are doing is affecting the indigenous communities in these areas. I would like to know more specifically how many of our members are indigenous and how involved they are and how we can better involve them. I think that, me personally, I think that maybe we could do a little bit more just to really include those voices. Not that we've done anything to exclude them, but
Of course.
To more specifically understand how we can address those communities in a way that is helpful to them. I think that we've done a good job of being inclusive of everyone in general, but maybe having members that are, representative of different communities, that then they can feel comfortable bringing information to us from their individual communities and cultural backgrounds to us, so that we can better address, each cultural identity that we have in our membership base. But yes, I'd like to do more and see how we can better connect with our indigenous members and the indigenous communities of the places where our members live, so that we can do better science and do right by the indigenous communities.